For the next DIY, I wanted to take one of the beach shovels and beach rakes from the Dollar Tree and see if we can make a beautiful spring shovel and rake wreath for my wall or my door. I think I'm going to use these on a door. And I just went ahead and unscrewed the handles. I think they've changed these slightly because they used to have handles on them in the past, and these don't. They also used to not be made out of wood. These are made out of wood, which is fun. If you wanted to paint or stand them, I'm going to do something a little bit different, but I definitely need to get rid of the sticky tag on it. And probably heat's the best thing on that because it is really on there. I wanted to make sure I got rid of all of that because I want to decoupage those and make those really pretty. As for the shovel and the rake, I want them to be pastel colors, and I'm really feeling pink and purple together for spring this year. So I'm going to mix like a pink parfait with some white to give me a pastel pink. And I'm going to do the shovel in pink. Since it's already a hot pink color, making it light pink is really easy. I didn't have to go over it with any kind of a primer or anything like that. And I am using the combination of paintbrush to kind of some of the smaller areas and the sponge stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree. I love the texture it gets. I want them to look modeled. If you wanted to do this a little bit easier, you could get some pastel colored spray paint to spray paint these all in one coat. But I really did want that modeled appearance on these to make them look like they're made out of metal. I want them to look like painted metal almost. No rust or anything like that. I want these guys to be pretty. Now for the rake, it is orange, as you can see, and I want it to be lavender. So I thought that's going to be a harder shifting color. So the first thing I did was go over everything with white first, just kind of to act as a primer. And you are going to have to do multiple coats on these to cover up that bright colors and the plastic on there and to make sure, that it's really stuck on there well. But I'm doing the fronts and the backs just because you'll be able to kind of see them from the sides a little bit. And you want to make sure everything is the same color. I want to put these together crisscross to hang together for a wall hanging or a door wreath for spring. And I've seen so many people do these with like making them look like metal or rust or doing them for fall, but I've never really seen a bright pastel spring one done before. That's really pretty. So that's what I was going for with this one. I was thinking pink and purple flowers, garden, that kind of vibe. And so I just go over them again here with another coat of the soft pink on my pink one, and that one should be good. And then now I can go over my rake with the lavender. I just mixed a lighter purple color together with white because I was really going for pastels. I have an inspiration piece for this, which is some tissue paper that I got at the Dollar Tree that has pink and purple flowers all over too. So that was kind of my inspiration piece behind all of the colors. I want all the colors to be really soft on this project. So I think that looks really good. I definitely set those aside to make sure that the paint dried. I don't want any of those bright colors coming back through. And you could probably go in there and Mod Podge them or use a spray sealer on there if you're worried about hanging them outdoors, if you're worried about the paint on them. This is the tissue paper that I'm going to use. Isn't this so pretty? This is just from like the party aisle at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cover the handles with these pink and purple flowers. I thought this would be perfect. So it's not going to take very much. It's definitely long enough for the wood handle. And one thing to note, they've made these a little larger this year. I had one of these from last year and I went to buy the rake this year and it was way bigger. So I had to go back and buy another shovel. And I am just going to coat the edges of our handle with Mod Podge all over. And you have to work in very thin coats with your Mod Podge. The decoupage with the tissue paper can be challenging. It's so thin. I just went ahead and laid mine on there and tried to grip it and trying to use my dry fingers. I probably should have used some plastic wrap, wadded up into a ball. I just used a paper towel and I did rip it slightly, but it's going to be on the back. So I think that it's okay. I'll be able to disguise that, but be very careful with this process. I was trying to get it smooth and try to get out any excess wrinkles. Look how pretty that is. I think it looks so vintage and fun for spring. Now, one end doesn't really matter what it's going to look like because it's going to be inside the shovel and the rake. The other one, I just trimmed it a little shorter and I decoupaged that down as well. It's so thin, it's easy to layer that there at the end. And we have one of our handles done. I'm going to do them both in this beautiful tissue paper. I love it. I love how the colors go together with how I painted the shovel and the rake. So same thing here for the other one. I don't want to use too much of the fabric, just enough. I'm going to go ahead and cut out another piece here and decoupage this one as well. Same steps. And I just have a little bit too much excess material, and then I cover the whole thing, very thin coat of Mod Podge, and then roll it on. If you find that you tear it, you're going to have plenty of tissue paper. You can always redo it. When I've had that happen, if you take it to the sink quickly and you can just wash it off literally, sometimes you have to do that because use decoupage definitely can be tricky when you're working with a thin material like this. But I think that looks pretty good. We can go ahead and put these together. I'm going to slide the handles in, making sure my seam and my decoupage is on the back. And then I saved the screws from before. I don't really know where the holes are on the wood at this point, but the wood is soft enough that you can just screw right into it. You don't really have to drill a hole or anything like that. And I'm going to do that with both of them. Don't they look so vintage spring garden now compared to how they looked before for the beach theme? I think it's really fun. I'm going to crisscross them like this, and I want that to be strong. So the first thing I do is go in with a zip tie. I thought that would be a strong foundation, and you're not going to be able to see it once we start decorating this little spring wreath, where the shovel and the rake are going to be hanging down below. So I zip tie it, cut off the excess material. I also am going to want a hanger right about there. So I take some twine and I feed that through there as well. And I can just tie that into a simple loop. I thought this would be a little bit challenging to hang, but it was actually pretty easy. I just knotted that and I attached that there on the zip tie that I used to hold them together. I'm also going to use some twine to tie them together. So I zip tied them. I'm also going to use twine and I just wrap that around and tie. And I'm just doing that to make this seam stronger. I don't want them falling apart and I want them to stay in position. And so I just did that 4 or 5 times and knotted it. For the ribbon, I didn't want anything too bold or crazy, so I'm going to use some of the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. The burlap always goes well with a garden theme, and I think it'll go great with these soft pastel colors. I just cut off a piece and wrapped that around where I put the zip tie and the twine, covering all of that up. At first, I did dovetail the edges, but this burlap ribbon does like to fray a little bit. So I did go back and straighten these up a little bit because I didn't like the fact that it was fraying. And then we're going to do a faux bow, really easy. I take another zip tie and I go underneath our twine like that. And then I'm going to cut out 3 loops. I'm not going to do like the twist and fold or anything like that, just 3 loops all the same size. That way I can have them kind of jutting out in every direction independently. It's going to make it easier to mold and put together. When I make a loop, I just slightly overlap the end-to-end burlap. And then I just put them together, the first 2 like an X, and the next one kind of going the other direction like that, where they're all 3 stacked on top of each other. I just sit that on top of the ribbon and use that zip tie that I had put down there to secure them all together. The zip tie is not real noticeable when you go to shape your burlap ribbon, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fluff up my little bow here, and I think that's going to be perfect. Now I want to hang a bag of seeds down from my wreath form, so I'm going to use some of these treat sacks from the Dollar Tree. These are the burlap bags. This one has a polka dot on it, which is kind of cute. I just removed the tag there from it, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to use the polka dot side. I want you to be able to read it. I want to spell out the word seeds on it, so I decided just to use the plain burlap back for mine. I'm going to use these stampers that I got at Dollar General with some Dollar Tree ink pads, and we're just going to stamp out seeds on this. And I think I might need a new ink pad because either that or this material didn't really want to take it too much because it wasn't real obvious when I was stamping on these, but I'll show you how I go about fixing it. But I love these little stampers that I got at Dollar General. I've used them for crafting a lot. They are great for rustic projects like this. To fix it, I took a black Sharpie and I just started dotting around everywhere where it's stamped because that's going to look like black ink, right? And I did that twice. I went over them twice and now it's just a little bit easier to read. I also want it to look like a dirty bag of seeds. So I want it to look full. I use a little bit of polyfill from the Dollar Tree to start stuffing it. and I was trying to decide how to make it look dirty. I know you can do this with coffee grounds pretty easily, just working that in the burlap, but I didn't really want to go find any coffee, so I wanted to see if I could do it with just some brown paint. So I used one of those chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree, a little bit of this like chocolate brown paint, and just kind of went all over. If I have an area that got maybe a little bit too much, I went over it with a baby wipe and tried to blend that into the burlap. And I think I definitely did get the dirty burlap seed bag look without having to use the coffee, but you could use that too. I've done that before, it works really well. I added a little bit more polyfill and then I wanted to look like the seeds are actually sprouting out of the bag. So to do that, I got some greenery from the Dollar Tree and I just went ahead and added that to the bag, cinching it here at the top. Isn't that fun? I thought this would be fun because I can hang this down from the bow, something that's going to kind of hang down in front of the shovel and the rake, and just add another feature to this project. Now, the little handles on there were not quite long enough to be able to just wrap it around the bow like that. So what I'm going to do is just tie that off and use some extra twine to tie that to make sure it hangs down right where I want it to. So I take some more twine and I'm just going to wrap this around our little seed bundle here, tying that off. Now that greenery that I used there is pretty bright. You're going to see me change it here in a minute just because I thought it's fun for spring that it's a bright green, but I thought it was a little too bright considering all the pastel colors that I used on this project. But I switched it out for something really similar. I just tied that around my big bow here at the top where it will hang down in front. And then I cut my dovetails off here because I noticed they were slightly fraying a bit. These are the flowers that I'm going to use from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so pretty. I think they're the camellia flowers, and they are these soft pinks and whites. I thought the colors were perfect, and the kind of flower was perfect. So I just take those off and start hot gluing those all around the bow. Kind of anywhere where there was an opening in the bow that needed something, I just added a flower to that. But I'm trying not to take away from the hanging seeds down there too much as well, but I definitely wanted some florals. I also glued the back of my bag here just to make it a little bit skinnier in the back so you can't see the polka dots on my bag there because it looks a little bit different. And another flower. This is the greenery that I was talking about. I did have another greenery from the Dollar Tree that was slightly a softer green. And once I was finished, my personal preference was just to switch that out. So that's what I did. It's just like a little eucalyptus, I guess, and eucalyptus stem. And I just replaced that. And I like the colors on that one better with my soft pinks and my soft purples. Let me show you how my little rake and shovel wreath turned out. I've always wanted to make one of these and I just love it. It just screams spring. I love all the flowers. Isn't this so cute? I think this will look great. I think I'm going to hang it on my garage door